do I view the live channel on Thermacube?
I have no idea. But we're live.
Cool. I'll just go over that. Go from that. Alright, so you want to get in here so we can do this thing?
Yeah.
Alright. So even though this is a test, act like there are people watching. So hey guys, how's it going? You know me, I'm Nathan. This is Caleb. Oh boy, I gotta can you drop that seat down a bit? That's slightly better on camera. A little bit up more. That's better. Oh yeah. Alright, so today we're discussing shooting raw footage on a Canon 70D, and we're going to compare that to Cinestyle specifically, and how like actually how much like change you can make to like different colors and everything. Specifically shooting raw because
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, in the last several weeks that we've been using these Canon 70Ds, we've been shooting with Cinestyle because it's a better shooting format than the standard formats available on there. That's why we're not going to be showing comparison between true standard format and raw.
Because if you're not shooting Cinestyle already on a 70D, you should
You
be.
don't know what you're doing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
By the way, Cinestyle basically breaks down and gives everything a more dull look, so that when you go into post and do color correction, you can actually make better changes in
It shoots in a much more flat, more neutral profile, so that the camera makes fewer changes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So, what did it take to shoot raw, high quality video on a Canon 70D? Because if you don't know, it's really hard. Because it has a raw setting. That should be something said first. That there is raw shooting on the 70D.
Yeah.
But it's not actually shooting raw.
Right. It's shooting Canon RAW.
Yeah.
It is a compressed form of RAW. In order to shoot true RAW footage on a Canon 70D, you have to hack the firmware by putting Magic Lantern on there. Magic Lantern is an independent third-party firmware hack for not just Canon 70D cameras, but really all Canon cameras, and I think some Nikon cameras as well, but I could be wrong. And for more of the older model cameras and more of the higher-end cameras, the Magic Lantern software that you're going to put on there is in a more finished state. So far as the Canon 70D goes, because it's a newer camera, it's still sort of in a beta format. So use at your own caution if you try this yourself.
Sometimes things don't work.
Yeah. But once you have Magic Lantern on there, all you really have to do is open up the modules that Magic Lantern loads into its own menu on the camera and enable raw recording, then turn the camera off and back on. Or you don't have to turn it back on, but once it turns back on, once it's rebooted fully, it will load raw recording capabilities. And then you can go into the menus and set your resolution. Which brings us to
resolution issues.
Something that you have to understand and live with if you really want to shoot raw on the Canon 70D. Yeah, you can hit the trash can button and pull that up if you want to.
Alright. And it's which one is it? Raw video?
Yep.
Alright. So
hit Q to open up your options.
Oh, alright. Alright. So basically what Magic Lantern does is it enables RAW to be used on anything. And so you could go from the lowest at 640, 480, right? That's the first one. All the way up to a really weird specific number in what is it? It's not even on here. It's
it's on there. It'll show you the highest it's capable of, but the card we have is not capable of it.
What was it? Well, no, the card we have is capable of it.
Of 1856.
Yes.
But nothing higher.
So basically,
'Cause
ours is it max sets it to 1824 by 1026.
Right. So Magic Lantern enables the raw recording on your camera, which is great. What it doesn't do is it doesn't magically make it so that your SD cards can record fast enough to capture that raw video.
But there's something to point out that even though we're using a 95 megabyte card, we still can't go into the 1856 or higher, even though it says it needs at least a 93.6.
Right. So it's a little iffy. The camera settings are going to round down.
Yeah, it's going to give like...
before rounding up, because it can't round up.
Yeah. And so that's also at 30 frames a second. So
the maximum shooting resolution we can in RAW is about 1824 by
1056.
1056.
I believe. Off the top of my head.
Which means that in order to get true 1920 by 1080 out of it, you have to upscale. That's actually not
1026. Sorry.
That's actually 1026. That's actually not that big of a problem when it comes to RAW, because you're still recording more data per pixel, and you're recording at a much higher clarity and detail level already. So upscaling a little bit, honestly, the difference is hardly even noticeable. And when we go to review the footage, you guys will be able to see that.
Other point before we get to the footage, there is a limitation on how much we can even shoot at 1824 by 1026.
So Magic Lantern does a lot for the camera. What it can't do, however, is it can't change the maximum file size limit that the camera has in recording. So if you're using our settings and you're shooting at 1824,
1824 by 1026.
yeah. If you're shooting with those settings in RAW at 30 frames per second, you can expect to have a maximum clip size of just under 4 seconds. And that is because it just can't record a file that size. We're talking a 4-second clip that would normally be, if you were recording 1920 by 1080 in camera without Magic Lantern, it would normally be about 180 megabytes tops. That 4-second clip is now right about 2 gigabytes. This is how much extra data that you're able to capture by shooting in RAW format.
And I'm just going to test something real quick. I switched it down. I downsized it from the 1824 by 1026 to 1280 by 720. So I'm just going to check to see how long. And currently, we're recording for 18 seconds in RAW. So doesn't seem to hit that limitation. If you want to bump down to 720, keep checking my steez.
Yeah, I'm just watching how long it goes.
Well, currently we're at 30 seconds. So you can at least shoot for 30 seconds.
33 seconds for turning red.
What does that mean? I don't know what that means. The recording stopped automatically. Looks like you can hit 39 seconds specifically, at least for our 70D, if you're using 1080 or 1080 by 720.
Yeah, there are higher speed SD cards you can get, but honestly, the SD cards we're already using are some of the highest speeds available.
Yeah, just to point out, this is
the ceiling's not a lot higher.
128 gig, 95 megabyte card. So we also have like the luxury that if we wanted to shoot in RAW, I don't even want to know how big that file, that 39-second file that I just shot. I have no idea.
It's probably still going to be about 2 gigabytes.
Is that what it hits?
Yeah, I mean downscale and resolution, so it's going to be, yeah. That's, I mean, you won't be able to view it.
Oh yeah, because it won't. That's right.
That's another thing. You won't be able to review your RAW shots in camera. Yeah. The camera won't be capable of playing it back on the LCD screen.
Because
you will
RAW
have to plug
is a
into
different format.
A computer and take a look at it. Right.
And even to edit was a bit of an issue.
That brings us to editing in RAW. Anybody who's shot in RAW before is going to know that when you import your RAW footage, you're gonna have to convert it to Adobe DNG in order to edit it any, and that can be a little tricky. If you're not familiar with the process, but the resources are available online and they can help you walk through it. It does add a
13-minute render
a 13-minute
on a really good
render.
on a really good PC.
Yeah.
now
render out after the conversion
now I
process.
100% understand what it takes to like shoot. We're not even shooting on like on a red in 4K. We're shooting on a that was 720, and we were shooting in 1824 by 1026. I can't even imagine what like a 4K what a 4K raw. That's why when you do on like one of the bigger or on the on like bigger cams like red and stuff like that, and the new whatever that new 6K Dragon one is, and then there's the one they shot the Revenant on, where it's shooting to literally a multi-terabyte solid state drive that just attaches to the camera.
It's one of the few things fast enough to capture that data.
Yeah. So, like we said, you do run into some limitations in shooting. 720p. Apparently, you can shoot 40 seconds. I don't think I've ever shot a shot in like one of our shorts or anything that's longer than 40 seconds. So
yeah, and then it's 1280 by 720 is still HD. So
yeah.
And with all that extra color data that you're gonna get by shooting in RAW, you can probably upscale it to 1920 by 1080, and it'll still look just as fine.
Yeah, it'll look pretty great one way or the other. And like even at this point, unless you're like a real resolution snob, like the jump from 720 to 1280 isn't as noticeable as like the jump from 1280 to 4K or whatever. So it's like it's not hugely different, but I mean, we're kind of resolution snobs though. That's a problem.
That is.
But either way, so do we want to get into the footage, or do we have anything else?
Absolutely. I'm going to go ahead and go in and control.
Let's switch that scene. Yep. Never walk in front of the camera. All right. So the first one is going to be some test footage. We just basically went downtown to where we could get like multiple colors in the same shot. So the first one's going to be me. I'm wearing like a red plaid flannel, and then we have like a brick wall that's like a different color red, a green, and a blue trash can. And we're going to see, first shot will be actually standard with Cinestyle and how we normally shoot, and then color corrected Cinestyle to look as best as we could. And then the next shot will be the raw footage with not even like color correction on it, just like a little bit of correction actually on it. And that's all correction that was done. And what was that program you were using before?
Adobe After Effects?
Was that just in After Effects? Yeah. Okay, so just viewing it in After Effects.
Yeah, that was just the raw importer for After Effects.
Okay, yeah, I had never seen that before because raw. But that's just like the changes that you can make super easily with After Effects, and you don't even have to do very much.
You ready for me to play this back?
Yeah, go for it. All right, so this is, again, like I said, what we usually shoot in Cinestyle, and this is, that was the Uncrest, and this is still Cinestyle, and the raw. Even at this point, we don't have any, I could definitely tell that was upscaled. That's fine. That actually looks great. So you can actually see the upscale change, specifically, like, in the second one.
In the second one?
You can like see the upscale. So that's the raw. So if you go back to this is like the same location, like literally seconds after that we shot that, and you can see a little bit of scaling, but like not really too big. And are these both upscaled to 1820 or 1080?
No, the Cinestyle was already shot in 1920 by 1080.
Oh yeah, so I mean that's what I meant. Was the raw upscaled to the 1080p?
Yes, it was upscaled to 1080p.
So yeah, that's what we went ahead and did, and that was just like, I don't know what else to say. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think it looks better.
I'd like to point out a couple differences right here.
Cool. You want to? Hey, how about? Here's the thing. How about you do that on mic, and I will come and control this.
We're going to highlight this section here.
Yeah.
And then highlight the difference in the raw.
Right.
Okay.
Alright, so let's start off with this first.
Mm-hmm. So you've got the Cinestyle clip pulled up?
Yep, that's the Cinestyle clip.
Okay, so if you'll notice in the Cinestyle clip, don't look at the foreground, look at the background. There's still a lot of exposure issues. The sky still pretty overexposed, and you lose a lot of the detail and the power lines. And along the white wall on the left side of that alleyway, can you switch it over to RAW? Yeah, so if you'll take a look at the RAW side, you'll see that the difference is immediately noticeable. You can see the power lines, you can see the power poles, you can see more of the detail on that white wall. So this is just one of the many benefits of shooting in RAW, is you get more control over that image when importing into After Effects, and you can fix things like that without ever having to open a color correction software, because the RAW importer handles it for you. So, was there anything that you wanted to point out specifically?
Oh, you've seen the footage at this point. So basically what it comes down to is that thanks to the RAW, even that, you can see way more detail in the brickwork. Specifically, what you have to look at is the colors. Most people do, this is a more realistic color. Like, this is more cinema, I guess, would be the more proper way of saying it. But like, for more of a realistic cinema style. So much so that if, like, there's obviously the cinema look, that if you were to use this, it would be not as cinema-ish.
It's definitely some high contrast footage. You can definitely see that the blacks are crushed. You can definitely see the differences in the light areas versus the dark areas.
We brought down the whites because you go too much into the whites and you start to get that more dulcet tone of, like, everything kind of like starting to flat out. And bringing out the blacks really, like, makes everything basically pop. It's a lot like, this looks a lot like the footage that shot of is it Garth Evans, the guy who directed the new Rogue One movie? This looks like super, like it would be like the same color style would be like in the beginning of Rogue One when they went to get the girl, and it was really like all those different colors. Basically that's the same look. So it kind of works for that like futuristic thing. You go for rustic, you'll definitely want to do like specific color correction.
Yeah,
but
another thing you have to understand that we haven't really highlighted on is the real true difference between the videos that we've shown you so far, the Cinestyle and the RAW, is the RAW has had almost zero color correction to it. We're talking about boosting maybe clarity by a couple numbers and lowering the whites, as you said, and fixing the exposure. But there's been no actual color correction. We haven't opened it up in Lumetri. We haven't opened it up in Colorista. That's just how it is once setting it in with the RAW importer. On the other hand, the Cinestyle clip has had a lot of color correction on it just to get it close to similar to how that RAW came out on its own. And you can see that in a lot of places. You can see that in some of the blues. You'll see how the blues are less washed out in the RAW footage, and you can see that in the greens, especially on the RAW footage. The greens on the RAW footage look so much better than the greens in the color corrected Cinestyle footage.
Because those recycling bins are lime. They're like super lime.
Yeah. So you know, that comes down to benefits versus risks. You know, your post-production time goes up a little bit because you have to convert to Adobe DNG. You have to import it in using the RAW importer for After Effects. You can't even after you have converted this to DNG, you can't open it in Premiere. This is something that does have to be edited in After Effects. Once you've got it in After Effects and you've finished the conversion and run it through the render queue, then you can bring it into Premiere you can render it out with whatever settings you usually use, load it into Premiere, and then you can edit it in a more friendly editing environment. But the trade-off is that you don't have to do nearly as much color correction to it in post unless you want to. And color grading, of course, is going to be up to both the editor and whoever is wanting the video done. But while it increases your ingest time, it may decrease your post-production time because you don't have to color correct it as much. Yep.
I think that's it.
Alrighty. Thank you for joining us on our first stream. We're going to try to do these on a weekly basis at a regular time. And we'll just see how it
Next week,
goes.
we're going to talk about capture issues.
Okay. You want to go stop it?
Yeah, I'll stop it.
Alrighty.